The idea that extroversion is in any way a prerequisite for success in business or in leadership in general has been roundly debunked. Introverts are often more analytical, more creative, more thoughtful, more intentional, more disciplined, more controlled, right? But this video is not about that. This is not about the benefits of being an introvert. This video is about charisma, about persuasion. How do you, as an introvert, inspire followership? I'm going to give you 4 easy tips that will help you quickly inspire those around you. But first, as all algorithm-thirsty YouTubers say, please hit the like button below. All right, tip number 1, build strategic relationships. If you're an introvert, you are probably very good at this. The difference between an introvert and an extrovert, you may have heard, is that an extrovert gains energy from group settings, whereas for an introvert, it becomes taxing and they lose energy. And what I think is really important is the mechanism behind that. The reason an introvert loses energy in a group setting is because they're burning a lot of calories trying to figure out what every single person in that group setting needs. So think about it one-on-one. One-on-one, an introvert will try to gain insight into the needs and motivations of the other person. And that helps them perform very well. It helps them perform intentionally one-on-one. But when there's 2 people or 4 people or 8 people, right, it becomes progressively more taxing to do that. What's important there is that introverts have a lot of practice figuring out what other people need. And if you want to be influential, the best way to approach it is to leverage relationships. Figure out who those stakeholders are. Who are the people that can move the needle? Who are the people that can help you find success? And build close, intentional relationships with them. Influence them individually ahead of any big decision. That way, when you get into that big group setting, you've already got their buy-in. All right. Tip number 2, shine the spotlight on other people. In this crowded, competitive world, people are desperate to be heard. They're desperate to be cared about. So in a group setting, make a specific effort to interact with every single person, and for a moment, and it only takes a moment, for a moment, make people feel like you really care about them and are invested in their opinions. You don't have to agree with them, but you should spend enough time learning about their perspective that you get where they're coming from. And if you can, at some level, validate them and that process, you'd be shocked at how instantly they will align with you. All right, step number 3, say what you're thinking. This is super simple, super easy, but incredibly important. And I learned this the very first time I had a counseling session observed by a professor when I was in school. So when you're a therapist, especially when you're a student, oftentimes clients will say things and you don't quite know how to respond to it. And as a student, I certainly didn't. And so what would happen is someone would say something that came out of left field, and I would just go, while I thought about what I wanted to say. And after the session, the professor goes, David, why did you pause like that? And I was like, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to say. And he said, you have to tell them that you're thinking. As the therapist, say, that's a surprise. I don't know what to say. Or, I'm weighing these 2 options, or whatever. You have to tell the client you're thinking. And it's the same thing in a business environment or in a social setting. If everybody's talking and you haven't talked, there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is when people assume that you're not listening, that you don't care, or that you don't get it. So to prevent that, you need to say, I'm listening, I don't have an opinion yet. Or I like Joe's opinion and I like Sue's opinion. I haven't decided who I want to go with yet. Keep talking. That's totally appropriate. Now people get what you're doing. And tip number 4, tell stories. If you're describing an experience, if you're talking about yourself, make sure that your description includes a beginning, a middle, and an end. 3 acts, right? Think about any Disney movie. There's always the start of the movie, they help you understand the characters. Here's what's going, here's the setting. And then there's some kind of challenge, and then some kind of resolution. You should be describing all 3 of those stages every time you are sharing an experience with other people. So for example, if you ask me, David, why did you start the YouTube channel? I could say, I was really bored during COVID. I didn't have anything else to do, so I created a YouTube channel. Now, I've not described anything. You don't know anything about me. There's no investment in me. I missed stage 1 there, so you're out. You're not going to care. On the other hand, if I said to you, look, I love my job, and what I love about my job is the challenge and the variety. And when this pandemic went through and I was stuck in my basement, I lost the parts of my job that I loved, and I lost part of my identity. I was no longer the sort of person that could go out and meet new people, right? Who I was gone. And so I just sort of was stuck, and I was thinking about like, how can I overcome this? And so I gave myself the challenge of trying to learn something new every month. And so for the first month was March, and I was online trying to learn chess or get better at chess. And then the next month I go, I'm gonna learn Premiere Pro. And then the next month I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make myself post a video on YouTube. And I posted it, and I was just lucky enough that the first video got a lot of views, and so I was just inspired by the challenge of it. I just fell in love with making videos. And so now here I am, right? Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. It's a much more engaging story. Now, if you've gotten to this point of the video, I hope you realize that these tips, it doesn't matter if you're introverted or extroverted, these tips will help you increase your charisma and increase your influence. So please give them a try.